Before I get started, I want to just mention one thing. Today we bonded, Connor, not over a film, a Marvel film, or another Zack Snyder thing, but we bonded over Derry Girls, and I really enjoyed it.
Yes, we did. Yes, Derry Girls, excellent show.
I kind of was expecting you know it, but I wasn't sure whether you are a huge fan of it. I watched the first series only. I've never managed to come back to watch the I think there's 2 seasons. But
That's right, yeah.
Yeah, but I really, really like it. I really love this sense of humor, and I have to watch it with subtitles because the Irish accent is so beautifully fixed. Sometimes I would not get what they say, and they say really like they talk really quick, and I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
And we talked about it for many reasons, because it is a show that's set in Derry, or Londonderry, like it's called, right? And it's so close to your heart because you live in Northern Ireland, and you probably know much more crooks and all this stuff that's going on inside there that probably for an average viewer they don't mean much. But you mentioned something today that made me laugh so hard. That apparently in one of the episodes there is a writing on a board saying that the Protestants keep their toasters in the cupboards, and I laughed. But then I thought to myself, I have a toaster in my cupboard, so what's wrong with
Everything
me?
you've known about yourself has been a lie, I guess, up until this point, right? It's a very good show, and it's very colloquial. It's very much written to hear, and it's not even that it's just, like an Irish accent or a Northern Irish accent. It's very much like the Derry accent is a thing in and of itself. And all of the actors do a fantastic job of it, because some of them aren't from here. And they all they do a really, really good job at making that a very convincing portrayal of people from Derry, and people from Derry in that timeline as well. I think that's why it got such a good reaction here, is because it's set sort of back 20 or 30 years. So for like my parents' generation, for example, that was very much what they remember from school. They remember I think it was my mom mentioned to me about like the scene in the first season where they're on the school bus. She was like, I remember that so vividly. Like, that was the type of bus that we had, and getting stopped like for a random search, like a checkpoint by British soldiers. Like they've done such a good job at setting it in that time period, but also they do a good job at actually just being funny. So people who are not as familiar with it as locals still get the humor, even if they do need subtitles to understand some of what they're saying.
Yeah, absolutely. We should do a special episode about this, not about another Zack Snyder movie, but about the Derry Girls. That's gonna be cool.
You ready? I was born ready.
Hello and welcome to The Blockbusters, a podcast about the wonderful world of cinema and TV, about movies and shows we love, no matter how big or no matter how small. My name's Connor. I'm here this evening, as always, with my good friend, Rado.
Hi, Connor. Hello.
How are you?
I'm very well, actually. Thank you very much for asking. I'm doing good.
Good to hear, good to hear. Look, we're going to talk about movies and TV shows this evening, and same as we always do for our podcast. So if you've been a listener before, thank you so much. Don't forget to, if it's your first time listening, don't forget to subscribe or follow us. Rate and comment on the show. It goes a long, long way to helping us kind of get seen and get out there a little bit more. And please, please, please recommend our rants to your friends, and even more so your enemies, because they all deserve it. Run of the show, you can kind of check out our website on theblockbusters.net. You can find us on Twitter at blockbusterspod. Rado is at rdfolta, and I am at designconnor. We have a Letterboxd account where we rate our movies during each show, so you can check us out on there, follow us on there, comment on our reviews, etc. It's The Blockbusters, all one word. Rado's account is RADOX, and mine is CNRBYL. Our theme music is by the wonderful Scott Holmes. Although we've never met him, I'm assuming he's wonderful because his music is wonderful. You can find more of his work at scottholmesmusic.com. I did the artwork for the show. Rado does all of the hard work editing to make it sound lovely as it gets to your podcast feeds around the world, which you can find on Apple Podcasts and Overcast and Spotify, Google Podcasts, Castbox Podcasts, Amazon Music, and probably a whole bunch of other places as well. On this show this evening, we've got some news we're going to run through, a couple of trailers we're going to talk about as well, just very briefly, not to spoil too much stuff from them. We're going to then review a movie that we've both watched recently, which I'm quite excited to talk about, and then we're going to talk about the first 3 episodes of Falcon and the Winter Soldier. We're halfway through the season, so we decided now would be a good time to have a little bit of a conversation around it. Rado, do you want to get started with the news?
One news I wanted to bring to the table, because we both kind of like look for the news, you probably do it much more than I do, is the information about the SAG Awards, which is the Screen Actors Guild Awards 2021. And they do have quite a lot of good, exciting stuff that was given out. Some of it less exciting. I'm just going to throw in a few categories and a few names there. So Best Motion Picture Ensemble went to The Trial of Chicago 7. So again, we've talked about this movie. I know you really loved it, but this is a better ensemble than One Night in Miami or Ma Rainey's Black Bottom. I don't know. Well, definitely bigger names there. Best Male Actor in Leading Role, Motion Picture, Chadwick Boseman got an award. Another signal that he might be winning the Oscars. Best Female Actor in a Leading Role went to Viola Davis for Ma Rainey's Black Bottom. Best Ensemble in a Drama Series went to the cast of The Crown. And Male Actor in a Drama Series, Jason Bateman in Ozark. Best Female Actor in Drama Series, Gillian Anderson in The Crown. And then we have a few things like Comedy Series, Best Ensemble in Comedy Series. That was Schitt's Creek, probably not a surprise to anyone. And Female Actor went to Catherine O'Hara. And Male Actor in Comedy Series went to Jason Sudeikis in Ted Lasso, which is incredible. That's really cool. We had Anya Taylor-Joy winning for Best Female Actor in Limited Series or TV Movie. And Best Male Actor went to Mark Ruffalo for I Know This Much Is True, which is like another one of those kind of performances and TV shows that I didn't hear anyone talking about. So that's a kind of interesting choice here. And best performance by a stunt ensemble went to the cast or the stunts that were working on The Mandalorian. So that's probably something you are happy about. So these are the SAG Awards, probably another marker again ahead of what's going to happen on the Oscar night. But other news, Connor, Obi-Wan Kenobi apparently started production or will start production. Or it started production, it says April, so probably they started working as soon as April started. And we know who's going to be playing the main characters. Do you want to throw in some names for me?
I mean, not so obviously. We have Ewan McGregor, and I can't believe it, but Hayden Christensen returning. We spoke about that back in December when that was announced. I can't believe he's returning as Anakin, and Ewan McGregor returning as Obi-Wan, obviously. But this is a project he's wanted to do for quite some time. So it's kind of cool that it's got a space to exist, because I don't think I even would have cared for this had it have been a movie. This is more along the lines of what Solo probably should have been, had they have had a platform like this to tell this story. But the point that I brought up to you when the news broke of it was the diversity of this cast, especially when you compare it back to the first movie that they would have kind of been together in, Attack of the Clones. Attack of the Clones in the sort of early 2000s, the second of that prequel trilogy, and the diversity of this cast is quite remarkable. I think just from the headshots that they kind of are promoting from it, I don't know a lot of the actors. Moses Ingram is in there. Joel Edgerton, I do know. Bonnie Pies, maybe. Kumail Nanjiani, looking forward to see who he's playing. I'm a big fan of Kumail's.
Yeah.
Indira Varma, Rupert Friend, O'Shea Jackson Jr., who we know. Sung Kang from the Fast and Furious series, where I know him best from. And then Simone Kessel and Benny Safdie. The point I'm trying to make is that you know, we keep having these conversations on this show and just in general and in the sort of wider movie sphere about diversity and representation. And this to me is a testament of how far it has come in the space of not all that long, really, because when I think back to the cast of Attack of the Clones, most of them were CG and the rest of them were white to the best of my memory. White and male for the most part. So to see such a diverse group of faces in these headshots is, I think, really, really cool. And I'm looking forward to seeing what they do with this series big time.
Yeah, so even if I look on like solo Star Wars story, there is like a mainly white cast. You have obviously Donald Glover and Tandy Newton appearing, but this is mainly a kind of a white cast. That we're probably going to go back to Solo for one reason, because one of the actresses is appearing in one of the things we're going to be talking about soon. But great news. I think I'm kind of looking forward to see, after The Mandalorian turned out to be, especially season 2, such an interesting production. I'm kind of looking to see how this is gonna pan out. We don't know yet when is it gonna be out, or do we know more or less when the series is gonna be out? Probably next year.
No, I don't think
later
they'll give. It'll be next year. Yeah, they haven't
later
give a date on it.
Yeah, so keep your subscriptions. Disney Plus, there is more stuff coming. And talking about this Disney Plus, I'm going to jump onto something related to that. So we learned that Black Widow and Cruella will debut on Disney Plus and in theaters at the same time. So Disney is kind of shuffling around what's happening in terms of their release dates. So those being moved back and forward. And right now we know that Black Widow and Cruella will be available. Cruella is arriving on the 28th of May, and Black Widow has been pushed back 2 months. Okay, so it will be debuting on July 9th.
Yeah,
and
it's July.
Yeah, and there will be a rental fee. It is $30 in the US. It might be cheaper in the UK, but who knows?
Yeah, I think I can't remember what the Disney fee is, typically speaking, here for the Premier Access.
I think it was $19.99 before.
Yeah, that sounds right. $19.99 sounds right. Let me see if I can find out for you quickly. But yeah, that sounds right. What do you think of this news? What do you think, particularly Black Widow? Like Cruella, kind of, it's like, yeah, I'm not surprised.
So based on what we've kind of seen, Connor, with the Kong, Godzilla vs. Kong film that actually premiered in the US in some theaters, and it's playing in places where the cinemas are open, people are really hungry to go to the theater. You know, and the numbers for that film have been really good across the world. So what I think will happen is people will still gonna go to the theater and still want to pay. You know, I prefer to pay $30 of, like, say £20, £25 for tickets to see a film in the theater rather than pay for rental. The experience is different, but you're doing the same thing. You're watching film, unless you really want to watch it twice, you're probably going to watch it twice, maybe 3 times if you have that luxury. But I would really love to watch it in the theater. And we were talking briefly before whether we want rent Godzilla vs. Kong and discuss it on the show, I would really want to go and watch it in the theater. This is a film I really want to watch in the theater. So, long story short, what I think this will not kind of be a bigger issue, I hope, for the theaters, but it looks like Disney is kind of looking for alternatives right now, as not all the theaters are still open. So I can't blame them. They want the money back. And we were discussing it for a long time, but I think releasing it in the theaters and releasing it on the VOD platform, it might be fine. I'm not sure how the theater chain's gonna react to it, whether they're gonna say okay or whether they're gonna shut down. But I don't think they will do actually tell Disney to pack their bags and go and show the film somewhere else. Everyone wants the films, you know.
Yeah, especially right now, like if you're a movie, like a theater chain or cinema chain, you're gonna want to get back to making money as soon as possible. And at this point, they probably don't care how much money that is or where it's coming from. They just want to be making something. So their back is probably against the wall here in that they don't have much of a decision or a choice or grounds to really push back on, because even as vaccinations increase in their key areas, I still don't think that it's going to drive the same level of cinema attendance that we've seen sort of pre-pandemic. And then even when you add on to that what has happened around this, you know, like what HBO or Warner Brothers and HBO have done, and what Disney are doing here, and how people have changed their habits and how they want to watch stuff. You know, I feel like there's a group of people who have been wanting to be able like to see day and date releases at home for a long time now, since Netflix was basically a thing. Those people are always going to be those people. They're always going to be like, give me day and date. But then there is still another section of people who are like, no, I want to see this in a theater. And then I believe, in my opinion, the biggest group still remains the spontaneous. The theater or the cinema is a thing that you do collectively with friends or as a special treat for yourself or something like that. It's something that you just do, not because you necessarily care about the movie, but it's because that you want to go to the cinema. Like that's a thing. Raya and the Last Dragon, by the way, is $19.99 for Premier Access. So that's probably the same as a thing. So here's my question to you around Black Widow, because we've spoke a lot about this over the last few months and probably over coming up to a year now. We've been speaking about when this will release and will it come to Disney Plus, and Disney have been pretty adamant up until now that it won't. It's not. It's staying, the theatrical release only. And it's a strange decision for them to now, as we start to open up, that they have changed their opinion on this. Do you think that this would have happened if this was, say, Thor: Love and Thunder?
Good question, Connor. I think if the theaters were not operating, Disney's gonna go the same route. They're gonna try to do both things, and because I think the only problem, the only thing stopping right now Disney from doing it on a bigger scale was the theaters protesting. And if the theaters will not protest, they will be releasing the films at the same time. And I think this might be the case for the future films. But like I said earlier, $48 million for the opening week for results for Godzilla vs. Kong, which is like not big, but comparing to previous months and even previous year, it's huge. So this is an optimism that the theaters have. People are hungry to get out of home, go somewhere else, eat in a restaurant, go to the movie, spend some money, do something else outside their homes. And I hope those films will help that. Whether in the next year Disney will go back to the same format of going to like the release only in theaters and then We'll see, but it's going to be really hard to put the this problem out of back to the box. Like this is something we've already opened and it's there, it's happening. So you want to go back? We don't want to go back. That's probably what the Disney thinking is. What do you think?
I think Disney are the one kind of studio that have really, really committed to theatrical releases. And, we've seen that with Black Widow, like they even waiting until this long, despite being one of the only ones who've had their own direct platform to put it onto. Like they could have done this months and months and months ago if they wanted to, but they decided they didn't want to. It was a theatrical release. I still think that Disney see the theatrical release as an important, like, key area for them to be in beyond just financial gain. I think that it for them it still represents an area that they want to be in for traditional purposes, for blockbuster purposes, for like the conversation. Like they still, I think some part of them still believes that the theater is a thing that, it's very much in that Disney ethos, in the same way they have theme parks. Like you would have thought theme parks kind of, who goes to theme parks nowadays, but instead Disney are doubling down on their theme parks across the board, right? So I think that compared to the other studios, they've been very much committed to it, and I think they're begrudgingly putting Black Widow on here because they need to, because of the other films that they have stacked up for the end of this year, and it serves a purpose. It can't go any further than July. I think they're like, look, we can't go any further because we have, Shang-Chi for later in the year, and that can't come out before this. And we can't push that because that leads to something else. And, and I think that they've went, okay, let's do it. And we'll do the split this time, and we can do both of them, and we can get it out there. I think that they have financially, they would not have done this if they have not been seeing really positive results from their other Premier Access movies. I think there was a lot of cold water poured on Mulan at the time about how it just didn't do very well, but we never got that from Disney at all. They never really revealed how good it was for them, or was it a failure? Did it not actually make its money back, or did it catch them by surprise and it was actually a much bigger success than they thought? Was Raya and the Last Dragon a successful release as well? Have they got the data now to say, actually, this can work if we do this both ways at the same time? Or maybe it's, it's not perfect, but we just can't do this any further. We can't push this any later down the line. So I think there's a lot of factors went into it. One topic or one kind of point of view that I thought was interesting, and I can't remember who it was that brought it up initially, that I seen talking about it on Twitter, but there was also a conversation around, I asked you, like, would this happen to Thor Love and Thunder, around this is not a surprise because this is just like, it's just a female character of the MCU. Like, had it have been Captain America, had it have been Iron Man, Thor, even Guardians, like, none of them, they're like, people believe that none of those movies would have got this treatment. They would have all stuck to theatrical, but because it's just Black Widow, that they're like, you know what, let's just get it out there. I don't know if I necessarily agree with that, based on what I've said before.
Controversial statement.
Exactly. I live my life, just hard opinions, No, look, I can see that being a theory, and I can see that factor perhaps playing into it, but for the reasons that I said before around, like, I'm just thinking that when they look at this time, their timeline here, they go, we can't go any later with this movie because it plays into this bigger picture. And it was meant to happen a long time ago. It's probably meant to have tied into Captain or to Falcon and the Winter Soldier in some regards, maybe even Loki in some regards. So we can't keep going any further because we've got a whole lineup of stuff to come, and this is just a means to an end to get it out and have people watch it. I will definitely, all being well, go and see this in the cinema for sure. Hoping that that's a possibility.
One more thing you actually messaged me about, probably very excited, that Knives Out will come back. So our new favorite detective, played by Daniel Craig, I suspect foul play, will be back in Knives Out 2.
Impression I've ever heard.
That was the best impression. That was the best impression you
so
get
bad.
from me. Okay, that was great. What are you talking about? What are you talking about? So, so Daniel Craig will come back in the film Knives Out, and there will be Knives Out 2, Knives Out 3, and this was purchased by Netflix, and they lashed out $450 million for the rights of those two films, and Rian Johnson will be probably writing and directing. We'll see how this kind of plays out, but it's exciting news because Knives Out, it's a fucking great movie.
Yeah. How do you think what do you think's happening then with his Star Wars trilogy?
Who knows?
They
Who
just
knows?
don't talk about that anymore. Like Disney are like, yeah, Ryan definitely still on board. Sure, we'll see.
I think they try to play. They're trying to play it safe right now, and I don't think they'll be giving Ryan another project, despite what a lot of people think, that his film is the best of the latter trilogy. But again, controversial opinion. Stick with J.J. Abrams for the safe stuff.
I think this is a good sign, or an interesting sign of Netflix's pursuit forward into other avenues. We've talked about before how they just tend to want to offer everything, like everything for all types of tastes and needs and wants. Like no matter what it is that you want to sit down in front of your TV to watch, Netflix is your destination. But one thing that they really have still struggled with, when I think about it, has been franchises. They don't have a lot of like big movie franchises that make me want to go back. Like I think they're trying to do this with Extraction, but I'm not really feeling all that interested in that being one, or the Charlize Theron one that we watched, The Immortals or something like that it was called, wasn't it? Also not overly interesting.
The Old Guard.
Yeah, not an overly interesting movie to franchise. So picking up what is already a sort of beloved movie that has potential to spread out to other movies is quite a clever pull on their behalf, because you almost can continue to expand this universe on and on and on. I think that's probably a pretty smart move. Looking forward to seeing.
Yeah, and definitely get the subscribers, right, and get them big titles, big names. Yeah, that's all it's all about. We got two trailers we wanted to talk about, and one of them is Suicide Squad.
We're all gonna die.
I hope so.
Oh, for fuck's sake.
Here's the deal. We fail the mission, you die.
If we find out any information you give us is false, you die.
If we find out you have personalized license plates, you die.
What? No.
If you cough without covering your mouth.
Harley, although that isn't an open invitation for you to cough without covering your mouth.
I think we kind of discussed it a little bit during our full-on spoiler discussion of Zack Snyder's Justice League, which is a special episode, and if you haven't listened to it, feel free to do it. But I cut it out from that discussion, and let's briefly just have a chat about it, because I watched it and I was quite surprised. It looks like Guardians of the Galaxy 3 or 2 or 4, because James Gunn is responsible. So it's this type of humor. There's a lot of good jokes in there. Hopefully these are not the only jokes that kind of landed in a trailer. We have a good cast. We have some swear words. So yeah, this is James Gunn going full on with his very unique, very specific sense of humor, and it's definitely going to be completely different than the previous film. And I don't know, is it the reboot? Is it the sequel? Is it the remake? What is that? Because we had Suicide Squad before, right?
Yeah, I think it's like a spiritual sequel that is not referring to itself as a sequel. it's just like a continuation of what happened in the first one, but a spiritual one, because some of the characters are not going to be there, but others are that we're aware of. So it's a bizarre, all of it is bizarre. It's a bizarre choice.
And the only difference is in the title is it's going to be called The Suicide Squad, not Suicide Squad like the previous one, which is just funny.
Strange, yeah. But yeah, a great trailer. Obviously a big fan of James Gunn with his work on Guardians and Guardians 2. He's executive producer on the likes of Infinity War and Endgame, and he's shared a lot of notes, I think, with Taika Waititi around Thor and that sort of direction. So I think what this trailer shows so well, and we spoke about something similar in the Justice League, that in this trailer, I already cared more and was more interested in these random mismatched characters than I was for anybody in Justice League. From this trailer alone, I was more like, oh, what's her deal? Or even Harley Quinn, I was like, they're she's really kind of like locking into that character now, and we're seeing that a lot more. Joel Kinnaman, compared to what he was in the first movie, looks so much more fun. It's much more interesting. John Cena. We've seen like 4 clips of John Cena, and he looks like he's stealing the show in the same way Dave Bautista was Drax, right? And it's just like, James Gunn just really understands like the heart and soul of your movie has to be your characters. It has to be, if you're telling your story, your characters you have to care about them. Yeah, and don't get me wrong, I think a lot of these, I think half the fun of this movie is the fact that they've got this huge cast and they're just going to kill them all. Like, I don't see a lot of these people making it to another movie after this. I think we're going to have a lot of fun killing them. It's going to be the point of the movie. But from the trailer alone, I'm already more invested in what they're up to and who these people are, than I was for anybody in Justice League. And the same thing applies to Guardians of the Galaxy too. I said that in the Justice League review. It's like, we care more about those characters in the space of one movie that's 2 hours long than we do in 3 movies, one of them being 4 hours long in the other side of DC stuff. So this looks a lot of fun. I'm very, very excited to see it. It's another one of those ones that's going to come out in theaters as well as the premiere release rental window, the same as Kong is here now, or part of your HBO Max subscription if you're in the US. So I think it suits this type of movie to just be like, this is going to be fun. You'll like to watch this at home,
Again, I would love to watch it in the theaters, but
me too.
Connor, we discussed last time that hiring someone from the Marvel universe by the Warner Bros. Has a little bit backfired on them. Talking about Joss Whedon, obviously, right? And now they kind of snatched James Gunn from MCU to do the movie for Warner Bros. Hope it's not gonna be one of those things. Based on the trailer, it looks good enough. That's my only thought.
Yeah, it doesn't look like anything he's taking seriously. He came into this with the full intention of it being weird and wacky and killing a lot of people off in the first 15 or 20 minutes, and maybe we see some of them through to the end of it, maybe not, who knows. But yeah, it just looks like the script was a lot of fun and all of the actors are having a lot of fun. And I think it really, really comes across.
So on the June 11th, we're going to have the first episode of the series Loki with Tom Hiddleston. And we've seen the whole 2-minute trailer of that TV show. And I have to tell you, Connor, I probably was not, I'm not the person who kind of goes for trailers and watches them and it's super excited and whatever. But I watched this one. And I'm quite curious what's going to happen in there, because this looks weird and crazy, and it reminds me more of what's happening in WandaVision than Falcon and Winter Soldier. We're going to discuss that in a minute. But yeah, this looks wacky, crazy, and interesting.
The timekeepers have built quite the circus. And I see the clowns are playing their parts to perfection.
Big metaphor guy. I love it. Makes you sound super smart.
I am smart.
I know.
Okay.
Okay.
Please sign to verify this is everything you've ever said.
This is absurd.
Sign this too.
Yeah, the trailer has a lot of stuff going on in there. I think there's introduction of new characters, new places, new new realms, and it's opening kind of doors to multiverse. So that is gonna be a hell of a ride. What do you think, Connor?
Yeah, I talk about having fun with the Suicide Squad. This also looks like a project that everybody involved is just having a blast. They're just it's a fun script. They know that I think this one's only 6 episodes as well, so it's like it's short, it's sweet, probably not huge filming commitments, nothing. You're doing a lot of fun stunts, and the script is just fun. The things that you're saying is fun. It's a character that Tom Hiddleston has grown into and has been able to move away from just, completely serious as he was introduced in the earlier movies to the sort of looser character that we find in Thor Ragnarok. And yeah, it looks like we're getting more of that, and what a fun space for them to just be like, look, we've got fun stories to tell here, and seeing the branch timeline on the cool little screen that they had, and that what it looks like. I'm trying not to give too much away here, but like from what kind of as it appears, we're going to dive into Loki having to amend timelines because, as they describe him in the trailer, he's a variant, which is kind of cool. Like he's not actually the real Loki. He's a mistake. He's a mistake that he's even here. So we're going to have him go and kind of plug holes in these timelines from things that he's created because he is out of sync for where he should be, and then we'll try and put him back to where he was. And that's a really fun idea that you can jump into in something like a TV series. Again, wouldn't really work super well as a movie, but as a 6-episode TV series, like nice tight script, like that could be a lot of fun. And I think the production design looks great here. A lot of the sets look amazing and so much fun. Put me a lot in mind of Alex Garland's devs, that kind of weird inside the quantum computer type thing that they had going on was that kind of weird architecture. It looks like that sort of vibe, and you got cool, weird music going on. And again, all of the people just look like they're having a blast. Like Owen Wilson looks like he's just Owen Wilson from like a Wes Anderson movie in here, and it's like, it's great. Like, give me it. That's what I want. That's what I want from these Disney shows, is that I want them to go off and do things that we can't do in the big tent pole, titular movies, as it were. Like, just go and have fun and tell fun stories. That's what we're here for. That's what we're paying Disney Plus for, right? That's why Kevin Feige makes the big bucks. In fact, sack Kevin Feige, bring me in. I'll do it. Let me shadow for like 2 weeks. Just need to shadow for like 2 weeks, figure out the ins and outs, and then that's it. We're flying.
Yeah, you'll be all right. You're not gonna ruin the MCU. Definitely not. Connor, I wanted to kind of mention one thing that a little bit annoyed me because we're going to move on to Falcon and the Winter Soldier soon. But I also had this discussion with my girlfriend about the MCU in general. That, I think it is... We already had this discussion, and you're going to probably say again what James Gunn said. But, killing off a character in a film, it's quite easy, right? But then Marvel can't stop themselves and just bring the shit back. So we were sitting with my girlfriend and watching the Winter Soldier, the film Captain America Winter Soldier, and there is a plot that involves killing off Samuel L. Jackson, right? And his character is actually shot, and he's dead. Half an hour later, he's back. And my girlfriend was like, they are cheats. Motherfucking cheats. I'm like, yeah, unfortunately, that's what the case is with those films. And this is what happened. Loki shouldn't be here. Come on, Loki shouldn't be here. But we know that he's here because he was brought back. And it's a different Loki. That's a different story. I'll leave it to the fans to say. But hey, if you see anyone dying in MCU, don't worry, don't cry. Don't cry your eyes out. They will be back. They will be back.
Yeah. I mean, I agree. I actually do agree with you on this one, in that I feel that death should be final, otherwise nothing means anything. Yeah. But there is that slight window that you can go through where you have a different version of something. We talked about it in the end of WandaVision as well, and there's still interesting stories to be told if we understand the person that we're seeing on screen is not the person that we've seen before. You know, if we're aware that it's not just them again, that there's actually something now in the situation of the likes of Samuel L. Jackson and Winter Soldier. Yeah, like if you're going to go that far in the movie, don't bring that same person back. You know, just be like, commit to it and go with it. Like, have a bit of weight to it, or don't do it at all. It's fine if you don't want to do it at all. This is a problem I had a lot with The Walking Dead back in the day. Which was it could never commit to killing its lead characters. It did kill people, but the fan favorites,
a lot of people. Yeah, I think there was a lot of people that died. You were like, whoa, why? What's happened? Like
Daryl, right? Like Daryl, I love Daryl, but like they should have killed Daryl. Daryl felt like he was immortal. Michonne, like all these people were like they should have died long ago, because they're fan favorites, they want to hang on to them. They sell the merchandise. It's Daryl that's on the t-shirts. It's the Daryl toys that they can sell. Like that's why they're doing this. And it's like come on, like go for it. Just, you know, have them ripped in half. Let me see it happen.
Pull the trigger, yeah.
You know? Yeah. So like, because it went, especially a zombie show. That's the tension that you want. Which one of my favorite actors or characters is dead tonight? You know, and that so much of it when I was watching The Walking Dead, I was like, yeah, I'm not really worried about Daryl here. He's not like, and it makes Daryl's storyline get boring. You know, I just don't care. And then, you know, we see what happened with Glenn, and they brought Glenn back, and then they did. I was like, oh my god, yuck, boring. Have you watched his new show on Amazon Prime, Invincible?
No.
All right.
Do they bring people back straight away?
It's an animated cartoon. All right. Don't look up anything about it. I'll tell you one point about it. It's rated like mature, like 15 or 18 or whatever.
I can watch it then. Yeah.
So that's the only thing I'm going to tell you about it. So just watch the first episode and we'll talk about it on our next episode when we record.
Okay. This is what Invincible on Amazon Prime.
But Invincible on Amazon Prime, yeah. Just even if you just watch one, I'm curious to see what you think, but you might watch them all.
Yeah, knowing my addictions, that is possible. Okay, we're gonna probably talk about Loki in the future, not in the past, when we're gonna try to repair what we've done in the past by going to the future. What? No, I kind of lost. I'm lost. A little bit like with Tenet. But right now, let's talk about something we've already seen, and we wanted just to share our opinions. So before we dive into Falcon and the Winter Soldiers, we will have probably a few spoilers. Let's talk about a film that's available on Amazon Prime, and it's a film that's in talks for awards, more BAFTA awards than actually Oscar awards for few reasons. It's a film called The Mauritanian. So it's a film directed by Kevin MacDonald, and it's a story of Mohamedou Ould Salahi, who was captured by the US government after the 9/11 attacks, and he apparently had some sort of connections to Al-Qaeda, and he was one of the people who was responsible for planning the attacks, and he's been detained for many years without pressing any charges, without showing any concrete evidence. And the film shows his story as we kind of meet him when there is this lawyer played by Jodie Foster, and her aide played by Shailene Woodley. go to meet Mohamedou in Cuba, in Guantanamo, where he's being held, and they meet this man, and this man is played by Tahar Rahim. Is a fantastic actor. So this is a film based on a true story, a film based on something that's actually still going on that people maybe not know about. There are still some prisoners held in Guantanamo by the government, not having a proper trial, not being treated as human, I would say.
I'm Nancy Hollander. This is my associate. We wish to represent you.
We are seeking the death penalty, but if we miss something, this guy goes home. Let's get to it.
Call this number. Speak to my mother. Tell her, I don't know, something nice.
The U.S. government is holding upwards of 700 prisoners in Guantanamo. Since when did we start locking people up without a trial in this country?
That's a lot of case files.
The prosecution won't show us the evidence they have against you. It's all redacted.
You got a problem, take it up with the government. All my time here, I've been told you are guilty. Not for something that I have done, but because of suspicions and associations. I am innocent.
He has been interrogated. He has been held against his will for 6 years without a single charge being laid against him.
Doesn't it bother you at all working for someone like this?
I'm not just defending him. I'm defending the rule of law.
You haven't seen what I've seen.
And, I watched this movie twice. I don't know why. First time when I watched it, I was like, I love the story, like the story is incredible because this is a story of a real person that despite whatever happened to him. So in the film, you can see he's rude when he's being like taken from his home, when he's being held somewhere, he's being tortured for years. He's being tortured for years. And he's never lost his spirit. Believed in still in the moment when he's gonna leave this prison and he's gonna be free again. And it's incredibly uplifting story overall. So I was overwhelmed with this story, with the performance, mainly Tahar's performance of that film. And I thought to myself, this is not a film that is excellent or good or anything. And then I said, I'm going to try to watch it again. And I tried to watch it from a different perspective, like watching the cinematography and editing and the music in this film. And you know what? This film is good. And it's got so much good stuff going on from the cinematography perspective, from the visual perspective, that you don't see it on the very first in the very first sight. But then you go into deeper, you see those incredible shots when Mohamedou is in prison. You see him kind of trying to gaze somewhere and he's being kind of shelled off. He can't see anything. He has one scene when he sees a piece of sea and he stops there just to look at it. And those scenes like make me, wow, okay, this is cinematography, this is storytelling, visual storytelling is beautiful. There is one sequence that I really loved and kind of make me sick, and that's the interrogation sequence. And that is how the filmmaker makes you put in someone's shoes, and it works incredibly. So overall, I think there is so much good in that film. I've seen some sniffy reviews saying, this is not a great film, whatever. I don't agree with them. For me, this film worked on many levels. First, the storyline, performances, second, third, visual storyline. And yeah, I'm a thumbs up. What about you, Connor?
I don't think I am as hot on it as you are. I didn't dislike it by any stretch of the imagination, and I agree with all of the points that you said about the performances are all incredible across the board. Actually, the visual storytelling is phenomenal, like cutting to the 4:3 in this sort of cells, and as he's being sort of lightly interrogated, for lack of a better word there, as he's being questioned, shall we say. It cuts to that 4:3 and it feels very claustrophobic. It feels very intense in those sequences, and it also was kind of reflective of the time period as well. Almost documentary style, like someone filming on a camera from that time, which all kind of adds to it. There's another small sequence, the small piece of like production that I thought was another really small part that told you so much about a character, is when Benedict Cumberbatch goes to meet the general at Guantanamo in his office, and through his window there's the cages around the camp, and the cages are lined with like the green tarp, but if you notice, outside his window he's had a rectangle cut out of the tarp so that he can see the sea.
Yeah.
And it's so small, but it's such a wonderful little touch of like, you know, that tells you so much about who this man is. That all of these people that are being imprisoned here are not worth that. They are not like, they're not entitled to that. They're not worth anything. They are subhuman. But, you know, he's a general, so he can have this done. And it's an interesting point. Like, there's a lot of political things that I could bring into this that I won't, but I do find it interesting, these people who treat these humans like, you take the, you know, like take the innocent or not, irregardless, the way that people are treated is almost like they are not human. They are like treated worse than animals would be treated, by these people who consider themselves like heroes, you know, patriots or whatever. And the reality of it is that they are the least human people. They are, in my opinion, subhuman scum. You know, like that's my opinion on it. On where I thought that this movie sort of didn't come together was that I just felt that it never really carried the weight of the topic that it was dealing with. I never really felt that horrific sense of dread. I didn't really like it. It felt like it was all the whole time that they were building, and they couldn't wait to get you to the torture sequences. You know, like, you think it's bad now, wait until you see what we're about to do. That was looming over the movie the entire time. I felt that presence, like, we know what's coming because we know about Guantanamo. And then we get to that sequence, and it's a bit fantastical, because they're kind of doing it from his point of view, in that he's almost totally delusional and deprived of sleep and light and subjected to some of the worst horrors and terrors that you can imagine. So of course he's delusional, but I felt like from the movie, from the doing that as the movie, I felt like it took me out of it rather than put me into it. If that makes sense. It just felt like you were building to this, and then you got here, and it feels sort of like unrealistic in a way. And I don't mean that I wanted to see gruesome stuff. I don't mean that I wanted to see like pure outright torture, but there was something about that sequence to me that just never really stuck together. It never really hit me the way that I was kind of preparing myself. And I was building myself up like, all right, we're gonna see some like stuff here that I don't want to see, but I'm ready for it, because it's a story that deserves to be told, you know. And then we never really get it. And maybe part of that is, as you say, that the movie's actually more interested in being lighthearted. It's more interested in showcasing this person as a lighthearted, you know, like, you know, no matter how dark of a place that he's in, he still remains like a good person. So maybe
hopeful, I would say, not lighthearted, but by hopeful is probably the other word. So
not lighthearted. Yeah, you're right. But yeah, hope clings to him in this, for sure. And maybe the movie is more interested in telling that. But I just watched it, and the first sort of third or 2/3 was a looming presence of, we're getting to something that's going to be really, really tough to stomach, but we're going to tell this story because it deserves to be told. And then it just didn't really commit to that. And I felt that kind of let me down. I don't think it's a bad movie. I do think people should watch this movie. I am interested in reading up a little bit more about it as well. And this, finding out like what part of this was fictionalized, and you know, what was any of it fictionalized, or was it all lifted directly from the book. But I just felt that it didn't quite get there for me in the end, in that final third. It just didn't really hit me. I wanted to kind of come away with it being like, I have strong words to say about the people involved in this, but and while I do still, this movie didn't really bring that out of me in the way that I kind of thought that it was going to.
So it's very interesting. I like hearing that we watched essentially the same movie, but things that worked for me didn't entirely work for you, and that's absolutely fine. This is what sometimes happens, when people watch films. And you mentioned the performance across the board. I wanted to say I was not 100% sure whether I liked or disliked the Benedict Cumberbatch's performance. I think like they could have hired an American actor, but then I saw his name. He was a producer of that film, so I was like, well, who's going to play a role in this if not him?
I get that too, and Enya and I watched it together, and I said, because I obviously didn't know, and I didn't know anything about this particular storyline going into this movie, so I didn't know anything about his character. And I said to Enya, I'm really surprised that Benedict Cumberbatch is about to play just like blunt instrument, like American, soldier who's just like a bad guy that feels too one-dimensional for him. And then lo and behold, that's not the character that he ends up playing by the end of it. I was like, there we go.
I think it would be more interesting to have another actor maybe who's not that well known, or maybe more nuanced. I can imagine Michael Shannon playing their role. Like Michael Shannon would have probably milked that and would have enjoyed it more. I think Shailene Woodley wasn't great in the film, but again, she wasn't bad. She was just kind of like, she's not the best actress. Let's be honest. But it was great to see Jodie Foster. Jodie Foster playing Nancy Hollander, a real life character. I think this is the first time she actually played someone who's a real life character who actually is still alive. So it was incredible to see her. She's got so much energy, Jodie Foster, and I loved her kind of screen presence. But again, Tahar Rahim he's been talked about quite a lot in terms of the awards. I loved him in A Prophet. He was incredible in the past, and that's another film that probably not many people have seen.
Did you watch him in The Serpent?
No, I did not watch The Serpent.
Yeah,
no.
This is something, again, I call it passively watching, and you're a big fan, and I'm just in the same room while it's on, but maybe doing something else. Unrecognizable. That's my sort of first introduction to him, was The Serpent. And I didn't really pick up that it was him, because in The Serpent he's like, like smooth, like handsome, cold-blooded killer compared to what he is in this here. It's night and day. But yeah, phenomenal in this. And also, I want to draw attention to Zachary Levi in this movie, who looked like a comic book character. So he did. He looked like an action figure. He looks so odd in this movie. Like, you can tell whenever this was shot, it was either pre him getting in shape for Shazam, or post him coming out of Shazam, where like he had wrapped filming and he was no longer like, he's like, you don't need to stay like super lean anymore, like, but he's still just carrying a lot of that. He looks so ridiculous, especially because all of his sequences are beside Benedict Cumberbatch, who is just like a tiny man compared to Zachary Levi. He is absolutely huge in this film, but it looks so strange compared to everyone else. It was a weird choice, so it was. Look, I think this is a fine movie. Do I love it? No. Do I wish that it punched a little bit harder and was a little bit braver in what it wanted to say? Yeah, I do. I'm happy that you picked up a different side to it than I am, because I think that is a really valid point.
Yeah. For me, it's a movie that is definitely worth watching because of the story, because of the message, and from a performance perspective. And it's definitely not a time wasted. So that's my take on it. What are we going to rate it on the Letterboxd?
So in my private or my personal rating, second movie now that I've done this year, I give it 3 stars. And I said this didn't really carry the weight of the topic it's dealing with, was my comment on it. So what do you feel about this movie?
So in my letterboxd, I said more naked scenes. No, sorry, not the one. Wrong one.
Definitely not this movie.
I don't remember, but I think I gave it 4 stars. So we're probably gonna be on 3.5.
Sure, that's fair. I'll give it that. I'll agree with 3.5.
3.5 for the Mauritanian. That's available right now on Amazon Prime with your subscription in the UK. Okay, Connor. Bam, bam, bam.
So, who would like to start? Mr. Barnes, why does Sam aggravate you?
15 seconds to drop. So what's our plan?
Great.
Superheroes cannot be allowed to exist. I have no intention to leave my work unfinished.
The world's upside down right now.
Where do we start?
Whew. So yes, we are finally here. Our hole after WandaVision has been filled finally by another TV show that everyone's talking about. Maybe not everyone, but definitely people I know are talking about, and I have to watch every single episode. And this is Falcon and the Winter Soldier. So this is an interesting story because the Falcon and the Winter Soldier, that's meant to be the very first Marvel TV show on Disney+.
That's right, yeah.
Yeah, and they kind of decided to move it around, so they put WandaVision first rather than the Falcon and the Winter Soldier. And I would tell you what, good and bad. I think good because you kind of have very, very high expectations and you think, my God, MCU TV series is going to be really good and I want to watch more, and people definitely going to be tuning in. But I think it's bad because this is not as good as the WandaVision. From like kind of very first episode that I watched, I was like underwhelmed a little bit. And I felt like this is the TV show that most of the people who are MCU fans wanted to see. Because it starts off with a shield, it starts off with a big action scene, like, my God, how much money they spend on that action scene. The very first one where Falcon goes around. And, he's chasing some bad guys. I think this is the same bad guy, like, from the Winter Soldier, the movie. But, correct me if I'm wrong. Yeah.
No, you're right.
And
Marco St. Pierre, I think, he's an MMA fighter. Former MMA fighter, but yeah.
And it's a big scene. What we don't get in the very first episode of the Falcon and the Winter Soldier is Falcon and the Winter Soldier together. So we see Sam Wilson and he's kind of struggle. So interesting. I want to know your opinion, and we're probably going to dive into spoilers very quickly for those 3 episodes. So if you haven't watched them and if you want to be surprised, skip. I'm gonna mark the time when we finish talking about it. But do you think when Sam Wilson, aka Falcon, packs up the shield and takes it to Smithsonian and says it should be here, did he not tell the Captain America that he's gonna carry his shield in the Endgame? Did he say, "Yeah, I'll do it, man. Yeah, I'll be there"? And he's like, "Well, I'm not gonna do it. Actually, the captain's not here." So this is again me trying to kind of think why Marvel is doing is kind of backtracking their own stuff. But yeah, this is the one main question I have for the whole series, because let's imagine that I've not watched Falcon and the Winter Soldier. And I will go to the next movie. And in the next movie, I'm pretty sure Falcon's going to be the one that's carrying the shield. So essentially, those 6 episodes going to be the arc that probably only happened if you watch the TV show. That's just my thoughts on that. So I don't think Marvel is treating this as serious as it should be. It's probably going to, kind of get those two main characters up to speed, so they'll be a little bit more fulfilled they were before, but they're going to be in the same place as before, so they're not going to kind of change sides or die, God forbid, to be resurrected in the next film. But I don't know. I don't know whether the arc is there, whether there's a point of it. Because you can easily say, hey, he's going to end up with that shield anyway. But he doesn't have it at the very beginning of the first series. He gives it to Smithsonian. And we learned some other things. But I want to know what do you think about this?
I think it's I don't have too much trouble with it, because I look at it like any piece of media or storytelling. It's like, yeah, something can happen and then we can tell. If you want to know, you can go and find out that other story. Like comic books work a lot like that. And that's very much like the Tolkien's universe. It's like, yeah, if you start watching Lord of the Rings and you're like, why, there's a ring and there's an old Bilbo has a ring, and it's like, why is that? But it's like, yeah, there's another book that explains all of that. If you don't read it, you don't know it. Tough luck. And if you do, you do. It's like, and it's like, that's kind of how I look at this. It's like, the way they end game, you see him take it. There's a bit of hesitation. His words are, it feels like it belongs to someone else. So he doesn't accept it graciously and end like, I am Captain America. There's some hesitation there. And if you pick up the next movie where he is just Captain America after that, or he's kind of taken on that mantle, I think if you had no idea there was a TV show, your headcanon would just fill it in. You would just be like, yeah, okay. He just accepted the shield and came to grips with it, and that was it. Whereas it's like, but actually there's a story where he really struggled with it. And I think what they're doing with that particular story, subtly, but also, quite openly, which I was sort of shocked at from Disney in particular, is they're really dealing with it from a race point of view. And I think that's why this is kind of interesting, because I think what Sam is trying to kind of get across here is that, is the world ready for a black Captain America? Which is why in episode 2, we meet Isaiah, who essentially was that. And he explains then that, well, do you know what I got? Prison. They put me in prison. And not only did the US government test me, but Hydra tested me as well. So I've been like essentially a prisoner for many, many years. And the reason, again, saying it without explicitly saying it, is because I was a black superhero. And I think that is kind of driving home what Sam was kind of getting at, and that's hinted at too with the conversation at the very start with Rhodey as well, which was cool to see Rhodey at the very
really
start.
Cool. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that was awesome. Like, yeah, that was like, yeah, nice, he's there, and they have a really great conversation, and it's like, it is that. Does Sam feel like he is personally ready, and is the world ready to see a black Captain America? So a very timely sort of story with everything that's been happening this past, several hundred years, I would say. Yes.
Yeah, I agree with this, you're saying, but why is it a story that's worth telling in a TV show, not in a film?
I think you've got more time to flesh this out here.
Yeah, is it not worth telling? Yeah, but is it not worth telling in something that more people will see? Whether let's tell the story, but let's cram it in a TV show. That's my other thought. And I kind of I agree with you. Marvel reaching out to Comic Vote of the comic called Truth, Red, White, and Black, which was essentially what you telling is the before the Steve Rogers, there were other soldiers that were experimented on. There was 300 black soldiers that had this super soldier serum, and one of those is actually the character that appears in episode 2, and that was like, it was quite big, and people don't really maybe understand that, because that comic run, that comics were actually pulled, they were never re-released. They are quite rare right now to find, but they are still present in there. And I agree with you. This is very brave that what they're doing, and they kind of starting this discussion. There is a lot of stuff, a lot of discussions going on, like around like who Captain America should be, because we see in episode 1 at the very end that the government actually decides we can't shelf Captain America. And they don't go to Falcon, they don't go to Sam Wilson saying, man, do you want to maybe do it? They just get another white guy to do it.
Yep.
He doesn't have any superpowers. He's kind of skilled, he's well built and whatever. They even give him a sidekick that looks like a Falcon. So they essentially just make this alternative couple of superheroes. And it is super interesting. What more on the back of that? You have and some people say, oh, it's kind of boring. I don't want to watch that. But it was super interesting to me to see, like, Sam Wilson as a superhero and his family and how they deal with being dealt with by the banks or by the government. It's just like you're watching something that is probably really true to life. And this is after the blip, after people coming back. This is another topic that it's being taken on by the TV series, which we did not see that much in the films. So that is interesting. But I think what I wanted to say overall, there are interesting things in there. But I think this series is, first of all, is not as interesting visually or conceptually as WandaVision, and I probably don't expect to see another WandaVision. WandaVision was event one for all. It feels more like a film that's kind of dragged out to. Right now, we've seen about 3 hours. That proper film, like the MCU movie with big action scenes, with some, physical, great physical performances, and with some stuff that's going on in the background. So apart from Sam, obviously we have Bucky Barnes, and Bucky is not seen in the first episode with Falcon, so he's going through this therapy, and that reminded me. I think someone said that, and I was just like, "This is what I have it from." He's him sitting in front of the shrink or the psychiatrist. The background is the woods. You see him essentially. He's still lost. In the woods. That reminded me so much of Tony Soprano in Sopranos, being having this this therapy when he's trying to deal with his own issues, and that's a phenomenal scene, to be honest. And I really liked it. The first episode is kind of a slow burn, to be honest. And you get a big action scene at the beginning, and this kind of dips down and slowly moves. And I think for me, this series kind of kicked off in episode 3. I'm not sure what you think.
Yeah. No, I agree. Episode 1, was very much trying to, I think, just catch us up with where they are and in relation to the rest of the world, because the blip now has become this key event, and we have to kind of set stuff like post or pre-blip for it to have the right kind of context when we're watching some of the MCU stuff now. So that first episode is very much just kind of saying, here's where they are. And I like that they took the time to not have them both just go and do missions in the first episode, right? Like they actually don't meet in the first episode. I like that. I thought it was a bit unceremonious how they do meet, where he just like walks into an airplane hangar in episode 2. I was like, how did you
going
get
on
here?
a secret mission? What the hell? Like, oh, you want to come?
How did you get into this? Yeah.
It's
like you're like, sure, you're getting a presidential pardon, but you haven't got one yet, I believe, and you're just able to walk into this hangar, like a U.S. military hangar, and Sam isn't even military anymore either. It's like, how you got here makes no sense. It's sort of unceremonious in a way. A great scene, like it's fun because the strongest part of this show immediately kicks off at this point, which is the two leads and their chemistry together. The way that they interact with each other throughout the show is just so much fun to watch, and it really is that buddy cop side of things that we've seen, or that we kind of got hinted at, where we have a mutual understanding of each other, but we also know their past and how they don't actually get along all that well.
There was the scene in this episode where they go to the therapy together, and I did not like that scene. I was super cringe.
Yeah, I didn't
Really
like that
bad
one either,
scene.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I thought it was good when when Bucky, actually expresses himself appropriately, and where he says, you know, if Cap was wrong about you, then he was wrong about me. You know, and that was a great line, because it's like you can tell then both of these people are suffering from some form of trauma about everything that's happened and where they are and what's their place. And they have different pasts and somewhat different ideologies, but they're kind of being brought together here to move forward. And this is, I think, where my biggest complaint of the show actually comes in, and why I'm not enjoying it perhaps as much as I could be or should be, which is the actual reason for a lot of this happening, which is the Flag Smashers. So we get introduced to
Flag Smashers, yay!
Yeah, we get introduced to this group in the first episode. Very briefly, Sam's friend Torres has an encounter with them while he's still in Europe, and he videos it and sends it to Sam, and it's this sort of freedom fighter group who they preferred things the way they were in the blip, you know, like almost like Thanos sympathizers in a way.
Yeah,
but they're
Thanos
also
supporters. Yeah,
they're not bad people. They're actually good people, and they're doing like good work, but they have bad tendencies. And this is where the show for me then it gets really murky, is that I don't believe enough in the Flag Smashers. Their story is very muddled. Their reasons are very unclear and muddled. Why, you know, and it's the reason why we have Sam and Bucky and Hoskins and Walker as two kind of opposing groups, is that they're kind of doing this, you know, like reverse pincher to Tenant move to the Flag Smashers. They're both trying to close in the Flag Smashers, but I'm, as an audience member, I'm like, why? Like, what's Sam? Why is this really worthy of Sam's attention? Why is it worthy of Bucky's attention at this point? You know, sure, I can see it from Walker and Hodgkins, because they're like, you know, like it's the whole like America, and you know, like we're not really superpowered, but here we are, and we're gonna go and sort this all out. But why Sam and Bucky are kind of going after it? I know that they have like, oh, there's maybe super soldier serum involved here, and we need to stop this. I'm like, you're not really selling me on why I should care about anything that the Flag Smashers are doing. And if I don't care about what they're doing, then I don't care why Bucky and Sam are going after them, or why even Hodgkins and Walker are going after them either. It's just not very compelling. And I couldn't place it for the first few episodes. It's like, what is it about this show that's just not like, I'm just not there for? And I finally realized that there was the Flag Smashers. And then I was reading up about the show, and I forgot that this the reason why this came out after WandaVision, if you remember, is this actually underwent huge reshoots, because the initial plot of the show was deemed too close to COVID, and it had to undergo reshoots to move the plot away from that. So I think that all of a sudden for me made sense. I was like, of course, that's why this group of people that are supposed to be obviously doing something so bad that warrants Sam and Bucky like pursuing it, as well as Walker and Hodgkins, but that plot must have landed on the ground. It must have hit the cutting room floor because of COVID. Was it maybe that they were planning on releasing like a virus that would kill half of humanity, you know, or something to that effect? I don't know. I have no idea what that initial plot was, but something Disney or Marvel, they deemed it too close to COVID, and they ordered it for reshoots, and that's why it ended up getting delayed. And I think when that penny dropped, I was like, oh, this makes a lot of sense. And I was watching just a few days ago. I was watching the New Rockstars YouTube channel. I've been mostly avoiding it for Falcon and Winter Soldier. I kind of followed it quite closely for WandaVision, but I've been avoiding it for this. But I decided just to watch it out of boredom for episode 3. And they actually drew attention to a few of the sequences where you can really tell that there was reshoots. So when they first meet Sharon in episode 3, for example, and they're in her sort of like penthouse type place, there's parts where she is talking and her like she's not actually talking on screen. Like they just have used like another edit of her like moving around the room, and they've got her to dub audio over. But in a very particular case is in the scientist's room in the lab at the end, like there's an audible drop in audio quality for a few of his lines where you can really tell that like when you hear it, you're like, oh, there's a big difference there, that they dubbed over some of his lines and they redid some of his stuff because of whatever, again, what happened in this lab maybe had bigger consequences that they ended up having to sort of muddle around and reshoot. And I think that might not overall play into the later half of the season as we learn about the power broker and stuff like that. Maybe this sort of falls away for these next few episodes, but at least for these first 3, something to me constantly felt like it was missing. And I realized that the missing part was the Flag Smashers. And I just didn't give a shit about the Flag Smashers and who these people were. I could tell they were kind of doing some good stuff. They were doing some bad stuff. They had one really bad thing in episode 3. And other than that, they just kind of seemed like they were just nice people who believed in a cause and were fighting for something. And we're like, well, then why are 2 heroes trying to like destroy them? It doesn't make sense here. So I'm hoping that whatever that plot point was that ended up getting cut wasn't too detrimental to the latter half of the series. I'm not super confident on that, but maybe they've come up with a clever way to tie it all together. And I think if they could just give me a reason to be invested more in why they're doing what they're doing right now, because I think the Walker stuff is cool. I love the fact that he actually starts off as a nice guy, and you're like, Sam.
Oh, absolutely,
they're being assholes to him just because it's like, well, Cap was our friend and you're not him. It's like, that's kind of shitty. But he's already, like, you can see the cracks appearing and he's under pressure. That's all great. I think the race stuff that we're dealing with is great. I love when they come out of Isaiah's house in episode 2 and we get the cops seeing them arguing on the street and they immediately go to Sam.
Oh, yeah. That's like, so close to life, right?
Yeah. And again, you're like, oh, didn't see Disney like pulling these punches. Like, this is something I would have thought they would have shied away from. But here we are and they're dealing with it. I like the fact that when we meet Sharon in episode 3, she's totally like disgruntled. She's not like, she was totally pro Captain America, but she's like, no, like I sacrificed everything for this and I've got nothing. I don't even get to see my own family. Really,
she's got lots of paintings. Come on, man.
Sure does.
She's got a good business going on.
I'm a little concerned what they're doing with Zemo. I'm not gonna lie. What do you think about Zemo? What's your thoughts on him so far?
Yeah, that was my question to you as well. I kind of enjoyed watching Daniel Bru coming back great. to this franchise, and he's a good actor. He's chewing on the scenery. He's like Zemo, like probably we've wanted to see in the Civil War. He's more here, like more kind of boy, a little bit not very serious. Yeah, I have to say this is interesting. This is like a different character completely.
Yeah,
to be honest.
Yeah. I don't think I like that though. I think that's where I'm struggling with it because
I'm open with it. Open for it. Yeah.
Look, he's carrying it. He's able to pull it off. I think he's putting in a really strong performance that is making me buy into it. I'm like, all right, like you're pulling this off. This could have went to another actor and it wouldn't have worked well at all, but you're doing a good job. The 2 areas that I have of kind of sort of like issue with it is that in Civil War, you don't get any impression of him being from wealth. Like you get the complete opposite.
It's true.
Of that. Like he's totally and utterly like he's just a guy. There is nothing special about him at all. And then instantly here, it's like, oh yeah, I'm a baron, and here's my jet and my butler waiting at the steps of this jet. And I'm like, I know that you're like just flying around and stuff, but you also just broke out of a high security prison as one of the world's most wanted criminals. And you're just like, I'll just walk down this runway and get on this plane with my butler. I'm like, this is a bit weird and a bit odd. And the second thing, this is where I really start to take issue, is one of my favorite things about Zemo as a character in the MCU so far was the fact that, unlike all of the others, he isn't just like, you've got the hero and you turn their power on the opposite side and they fight them. It's not Tony Stark in the first Iron Man where it's like, oh, he has to fight a bigger Iron Man. You know, it's not like Thor where it's like, it's a bigger, more powerful villain that you couldn't have imagined. It's like, no, like, he had nothing on any of these people. He just manipulated them all perfectly. And that's what made him so interesting in the MCU. And then in episode 3 here, we have him doing like karate. You know, he's like fighting people. And you're like, I did not see Zemo or envision Zemo as someone who knew any form of martial arts. Could he have learnt it in prison? I guess. But I think it would have been a way more interesting or way more like sort of true to his character had the sort of shit started to go down in these container sequences and he hides because he's not a fighter. He's like, I'm getting the fuck out of here, right? But it's not. He's like, I'm going to do that. I'm going to jump off this thing. I'm going to fight people. It's like, didn't need this. We did not need this.
I think this is poor writing here rather than, Daniel's performance. I think I'm going to definitely defend what he's trying to do here with the character, but I agree with you. And what I've heard, I'm not entirely sure because I've not read that many Marvel comics, but he's Zemo. Like this Zemo that we see here is more Zemo, comic book Zemo, rather than the Captain America Zemo. So that's Zemo. I think we're gonna see him a little bit more during the series. Hopefully, they're not gonna destroy what you have in your memory there. But I agree. The moment when he goes to the plane and you see a butler, you're thinking to yourself, "Did I miss something from Civil War? Is this meant to happen, or is this a joke?" Like, yeah, exactly. And being the most wanted, like. Prisoner, he's just kind of going there, bright daylight, no one's stopping them. I'm like, that definitely is something. There's something sniffy about it. Hey,
I was gonna say in episode 3 when they first arrive at Madripoor, it's like they're just walking down an empty motorway in the middle at the night there, and I was like, where the fuck are we? Why are we just walking down an empty motorway? And I know it's like Madripoor, it's like kind of off limits and, no laws, and it's just like a world in and of itself almost, but it's like, how did they get here? Why are they just walking down the middle of a motorway? Yeah. It's so silly.
It's a concept. It's a visual concept, I think. This whole Madripoor concept is more like from John Wick. When you have assassins everywhere and they're getting tests and they are hunting someone. There is like, are there any shops there where you can buy some groceries? No, everyone wants to kill someone. It's just like everyone's partying and just killing and oh my God, yeah. So this is a concept, I think if you're not gonna go in there, like you probably not gonna like it. And I understand some people might have problem with it. Some people might just kind of enjoy it, like this is a fun Marvel show. If this is what you wanted, this is what you get. You get wacky places, you got lots of, in every episode you have like a good fight scene, which you didn't have that in WandaVision, and you have plenty of that here. So if that's something that is for you, you might enjoy it. I wanted just to point out, so apart from Sharon and apart from character Carly, played by Erin Kellyman, she played a similar masked bandit in Solo, Star Wars story. So apart those two women and maybe a shrink, there are no women there. Like this is a very male-centric story, and that's something that my girlfriend pointed out to me. She's like, for what WandaVision was ups and downs, she really enjoyed it because it was a story full of women and women's point of view, women's grief. This is a very male-centric story.
Sure, I agree with that. I think that's a fair assumption. I can't even think of anybody that we might get introduced to at a later stage. But cool seeing Sharon in there. And again, I like what they're doing with her, and she kicks fucking ass, which is pretty cool. But I guess we got introduced to the woman from Wakanda appearing then at the end of episode 3.
Yeah, so that's the end
really
of
cool, and that's part of me
3,
that got me like, yes, that's what I want to see. Give me more of this.
So what do you think will happen next? So we've discussed more or less the 3 episodes and kind of a detail. We know that there's a guest coming from Wakanda probably looking for Zemo, right?
Yeah, she demanded to see Zemo.
Who they after? Yeah, so that's who she after. What do you think will happen next? What's the story there for our?
I mean, I'm not sure because they feel like they need Zemo at this point, because in a way he's kind of being their Tony Stark, and that he's providing them with like cash and equipment to get around and do what they need to do. They'd be somewhat limited otherwise. So they kind of need him, and he has connects and contacts as well. But obviously they're going to be in agreement that he should go back to prison, and that might not pan out as they would expect. We've yet to find out who the power broker actually is. We've seen hints of Sharon having stronger ties to them. And maybe she's kind of portrayed a lot more than even she seems to have at this point. Although Sam's promising her presidential pardon, so we'll see how that goes. There's a lot of. I think this is one of the things that's keeping me quite interested. Now I'm even interested for this week is that I actually don't know where it's going to go. I can't really guess what we're going to see from trailers. We know at some point Sam gets the shield. We've seen that in the trailers, sequences of him like training with the shield. So we know that him and Walker have to have some sort of fight. Maybe that's very, very end of the show, and it's just like after he's got the shield back. I would like to see Sam reject being Captain America, if I'm honest with you. I would actually like to see that he just says, do you know what? No, it's not for me. I think that would be pretty cool.
Yeah, because what I was said at the very beginning, that's my guess, that he's gonna be a Captain America. It might turn out that completely different. That would be a good surprise, to then get the audience actually to watch the TV show rather than just rely on the film knowledge. Yeah. And what I think will happen, I agree with you. There will be a confrontation between Sam and the new Captain America. There will be Zemo's gonna go to Wakanda. I think maybe not straight away, but he's gonna end up in Wakanda in the prison over there. And Sharon's gonna be a bigger player than we thought she is. That's my guesses for that. And you said that like the whole kind of plot with the flag smashers. I don't know what to make out of it. I don't think there will be anything good out of that. I think they have crossed the line of being whether they're good or bad guys. I think they are more of a bad guys, and I think they're gonna go with this. But I don't know if this is gonna be like a massive the part of the plot. Well, we might be completely wrong here. I'm just guessing.
I honestly I don't know, and part of that I think is a little bit of a problem with the Flag Smashers, in that they're just so uninteresting in so many ways that we couldn't even predict a possible route for them to go here. Like I just don't know what they're doing. I just don't. They're stealing vaccines and stuff like that. I'm like, all right, but why? What for? We just haven't got enough of what is motivating 4 other very important people to be pursuing them. I'm not really picking that up at all. I think WandaVision was very obvious from the start, and they actually referred to that it was going to tie into Doctor Strange. I am not sure what this is going to tie into, if anything. I think it could come out with some surprises. I think we might get some links here to Shang-Chi, Legend of the Ten Rings, because I don't know if you remember Iron Man 3, Ben Kingsley's character.
Vaguely, yeah.
The Mandarin.
Oh yeah, Mandalorian.
Mandalorian.
Mandarin, not
like
Mandalorian.
But he turns out to not be the Mandarin. The Mandarin is a comic book character that has 10 powerful rings, essentially. And as far as I remember hearing at some point in the past, Madripoor has some part to play in that movie. However big or small, I'm not sure. But I think that's maybe why we're being introduced to Madripoor here, as you say, as a concept. So that we'll see it again in September time when that movie's due to come out. So we'll get more happening there. That could be quite cool that we return to this power broker, whoever that is. Maybe that is the Mandarin. That'd be pretty cool if we find out who's going to be playing the Mandarin, and we get introduced to them now in like the season finale here, and we get to see that play out some more later in the year. That will be a cool way of approaching it. Fucking Marvel, telling you, they're just out here fucking playing games. I love it.
So yeah, we are essentially watching the Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and the 3 episodes left. We'll see what the makers have written there for us. And Connor is definitely more excited than I am, but I'm gonna keep on watching. Why not? Why not, Connor? Is there any other stuff on the TV? No, there's just Disney.
Pretty much, yeah. We're just Disney. I mean, you got Invincible that you can watch, and I guess if you were interested, you could go and watch The Serpent.
That's your recommendations for the week?
Well, my final just sort of, recommendation. It's not so much a recommendation. We always do our pick of the week as just something else that we've been doing or watching or reading or listening to. I'll go first with mine just because we're on the topic of it. My pick of the week for this week is Ghosts of Tsushima, which I think I spoke about briefly. I can't remember if I spoke about it on the show.
You mentioned that. You mentioned that earlier.
Yeah. I got a PlayStation 5 finally, and I've been playing Ghosts of Tsushima, which I put off, and I'm thoroughly enjoying it from the point of view of just being in this beautifully produced version of the Tsushima Islands, just off of Japan, is remarkable. And it's just that, like, they paid such a homage to this culture, and the game is just stunning. If you haven't seen any of the photos from my Twitter, I'd recommend going and checking them out. I've been posting some like screenshots that you can snap as you're playing the game, and the game is just absolutely stunning looking, but its production levels are incredible to the attention to detail they've paid making this sort of breathable, like real living version of sort of feudal Japan. Ghosts of Tsushima Island. Ghosts of Tsushima Island. Really cool. That's my pick of the week. Ghosts of Tsushima, PS4/PS5.
There will be a TV show. Is it a TV show or a film based on this game?
Yeah.
Yep. So that's probably super exciting for you. But as many times we've seen films about the games and not as good as the games.
What's cool about this is it's actually been picked up by the John Wick lead.
Yeah.
Which is kind of cool. He is not now, I think he's now leaving the production of John Wick 4, which hasn't even started shooting, I think, but he's leaving the production of John Wick 4 to go and do Ghost of Tsushima, which is cool because stylistically they are very different, but I think there could be a lot of overlap with this, just like really cool visual ideas. But is his storylines really all that interesting? I don't know. I like John Wick. I like John Wick a lot, but are those stories compelling? Not really. They are just cool to watch.
So for now, you recommend people to play Ghost of Tsushima on PlayStation. Is it on Xbox or is it just?
If you have it and you can play it, no, it's PlayStation exclusive. Look, if you have it and you can play it, I recommend it for sure. And even if not, I recommend going and watching a few minutes on YouTube at like 4K if you can get it, because it's just a gorgeous game to look at. You know, even if you're watching it on your phone or something, just check it out. Because it's a masterpiece in sort of like production design. The two lead creatives on that game have been made ambassadors to the island of Tsushima by the council or the government there as like tourist ambassadors. They've nominated these two people because they've just done such an incredible job of drawing attention to these beautiful islands. So
Connor, you know, with your recommendations, we've been kind of exchanging them, and I went to watch Cassie Neistat and Van Neistat's videos, and we discussed it. So you know, I also watched a few episodes of Inside Pixar. So are you surprised?
No,
because you know, I value your opinion, and I just wanted to ask you how many of my recommendations you've checked out.
All of them. Sure. Let me go back through here and just have
probably nothing. But today I want to recommend something. Did you like Rick and Morty? Have you ever watched Rick and Morty? Or are you one of the people who hate Rick and Morty?
I don't hate it. It's fine.
Yeah. So if you are in the camp of Rado and you really liked Rick and Morty, there is a series called Solar Opposites, and it's available on Disney Plus in the UK or on Hulu in the US. This is from the same creators, from Justin Roiland and Mike McCannon. And this is a story of family of aliens that move to America, and they try to essentially kind of like get on with their lives, and one of them wants to go back to find a different planet because the planet they're on, he doesn't like. The rest of them are trying to adopt and kind of be part of the life. Neighbors hate them. This is adult animation, so there's a lot of jokes there. There is even a SeaWorld that is being dropped in one of the episodes, which I was like kind of shocked by. But if you like this sense of humor that Rick and Morty had, and you like wacky comedy and kind of futuristic or time travel stuff, one of the episodes is actually about time travel. You're gonna enjoy it. I watched it in like a day because it was like, okay, this is my sense of humor. This is my thing. The episodes are 23 minutes long. So first series has 8 episodes. I know that series 2 has dropped on Hulu in the US. I'm not sure when it's coming to the UK, but for now, series 1 absolutely fine. 8 episodes. What's better to ask? This is Solar Opposites. This is part of the Disney Plus, and it's the Stars or Star Disney. What was it? Stars? Yeah, something.
Star. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Star Plus.
Star Minus on Disney Plus. So this is the pick of the week we have for you today, and that was pretty much everything, Connor. We've exhausted ourselves talking about Disney, and more Disney today, and we mentioned some other stuff in the meantime. Feel free to.
Next week we'll talk about a foreign film. Don't worry, we'll pick a foreign.
Do you?
Maybe
you promise me we're gonna review a foreign film at some point, please?
Sure. Yeah, we'll review a foreign.
Because
film.
if we don't,
we'll do that one.
If we don't, next discussion about Falcon and Winter Soldiers, you're having with yourself.
That would be. You're still going to edit it. I will record both sides, and then you edit it together.
So you essentially discussing yourself. And Connor, what do you think about this moment? Glad that you asked, Connor. If you don't want to be listening,
pretty much.
If you don't want to be listening to Connor talking about this, please let him watch a foreign movie. and I will pick one for you. It's gonna be a good one. So that's it for today, Connor. Thanks for joining me. Thank you for listening to our lovely listeners. Again, check out our podcast, Apple Podcast. Give us a rating. Write a short review. That's going to help us quite a lot in our journey to become podcast moguls.
That's right.
One day.
Spotify, we're still waiting.
Yeah, we're still waiting for your paycheck. Enjoy the rest of your evening and enjoy the rest of your day. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.
And like that,